Hey guys, tonight we're wandering the narrow cobbled streets of ancient Rome long before the statues gleam and senators argue where the stones are slick with dew and smoke curls from bakeries not yet open. You're here before the crowd, before the wine, before anyone's powdered their face. And yet, the business has already begun. You smell soot and sour grape must in the morning air. You tuck your shawl closer threadbare wool, dyed once but now mostly the colour of sidewalk dust, and your sandals slap softly as you pass the locked tabernae. A stray dog licks a fish bone under a vendor's cart. It's not glamorous. It's not even particularly interesting, if you were to write it down in ink. But it's your job, and the city will wake soon enough. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening from bed, let me know in the comments where you are and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It begins before the sun dares rise. You step quietly out of the insulated tenement where the stairs creak and the walls whisper and walk the alley towards Subura. The district isn't what people say. Yes, it's rowdy and filthy and smells like 3-day-old lentil stew. But it's also yours. And do you know every loose stone? Other girls stir as well. A cough here. A squeak of a cot there. You don't greet them just yet. It's too early for pleasantries. One of them lights a small oil lamp. You can tell by the flicker beneath the door. Another groans as she wraps her sandals with extra cloth bad ankle, got kicked last week by a soldier who didn't want to pay. You pass a shrine to Mercury. You don't stop. You don't have to. He already knows you're working. Your destination this early isn't the brothel yet, it's the bakery next to it. The baker's son gives you yesterday's bread, rough and chewy, but still warm from sitting above the coals. You murmur a thanks and leave a coin if you can. He grins. You might be the only person who ever says thank you to him. Back in the alley, you eat with your back to the wall, watching. You always watch. A Roman prostitute doesn't just offer her service as she observes. You note the merchant's cart wobbling on a broken axle, the boy sweeping steps who might become a client in a few years, and the way the guards walk with indifference unless you've upset someone. Then they care deeply. It's not dangerous this early. Not usually. But every woman out here knows someone who thought that, and never made it back inside. A slow parade of life begins. A butcher hauls his cuts past you, leaving a trail of reddish water. A priest of Saturn mutters to himself, pausing to scratch at his scalp with a bronze stylus. You wrinkle your nose. Here's harmless. Mostly. Then comes the perfume girl. You like her. She wears too much scent, cinnamon and something. Bitter but shiz kind. She gives you a cracked vial of leftover rose oil and tells you you're too pretty to be up this early. You laugh. You both know it's a lie, but that's how girls survive here, lies with kindness folded inside. Your shift hasn't started. Not really. But you're always selling something. A glance. The sway. A look that says, maybe later, if you're clean and have coin. Across the alley, a girl named Drusilla lights the brazier in her window. She works out of a one-room cell with flaking frescoes and a curtain for a door. She once painted a dolphin on the wall. You think it's cheerful, even if it only has one eye now. Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes truly advertised themselves with togas dyed flame red, or if that was more symbolic. Either way, you don't wear one. You wear whatever's clean, or clean enough, and something that makes your waist look slimmer. A man stumbles by already drunk, or maybe still drunk. You freeze. He keeps walking. You release the breath you didn't know you were holding. The city is louder now. You hear the clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoing between buildings. Someone shouts for figs. A child laughs. Somewhere, an argument begins over fish prices. And in that chaos, you find your calm. You've made it through another night. Your sandals didn't snap. No one followed you. And your coin purse, though thin, is still yours. One time, years ago, you almost quit. A man hit you hard enough to knock out a tooth. You went home and tried to clean the blood with olive oil. The girl in the cot beside you handed you a bit of honey and said, "Suck this. It helps." She didn't explain why. You still don't know. But it did. Now, you just keep moving. Every day begins this way, quiet, rough and dim, but it always begins. You take one more bite of bread and wipe your hands on your tunic. It's time to check the room. The locks. The lamp oil. You light the incense, not for the gods, but for the scent. Something floral. Something that feels like luxury, even when the walls are cracked. From outside, footsteps approach. Someone's early. You straighten your back, set your jaw, and tuck the rose oil under your cot. Showtime. The knock isn't loud. It never is. Loud knocks mean trouble: inspectors, thieves, angry wives. This one is soft, familiar, the kind that means someone's come to pay for time, not cause a scene. You don't answer right away. You fix your wig first. It's not real hair. Real hair costs more than you've seen in weeks, but you shape it with care, teasing the curls forward so they shadow your cheekbones. The rouge you dabbed earlier is uneven, so you lick your finger and smear it gently until it resembles a flush. The curtain over the door sways slightly. You tie it back with the ribbon you found in the street last month. It's fraying, but purple enough to pass for something finer. The door opens. Is not special: an older man with sandals worn smooth at the heel and breath that smells faintly of garlic and nerves. You've seen him before. You even remember his name, though you never say it aloud. That's part of the service, anonymity laced with pretend affection. He sets 2 coins on the table, avoiding your eyes. You smile anyway. "Would you like wine?" you offer, even though you know he'll say no. It's watered down, and he's not here for comfort. Inside your tiny cell, everything is arranged with deliberate intention. The cot is nearest the wall so clients never stand between you and the exit. The lamp is just bright enough to flatter. A scrap of fabric hangs above the head border, faded remnant of a sea blue curtain that reminds you of sky, or ocean, or something distant. He doesn't talk much. Most don't. But you do. A little. You ask if the weather was kind to his crops, even though his hands are into farmers' hands. You ask if he slept well last night. He doesn't respond. That's fine. You're not really expecting conversation. The encounter is brief, mechanical, like many of them. But you don't judge. There's no room for judgment here. Only coin, and the silence that follows. When he leaves, you straighten the blanket, pour a drop of rose oil on the curtain, and rinse your hands in a chipped basin. Another knock. This one louder, sharper. You tense, but it's just Livia, the girl from the room next door. Her wig is crooked. The sandal strap snapped again. She flops onto your cot and groans. "That senator's nephew tried to pay me in olives," she grumbles. Olives. You laugh softly, easing down beside her. At least they were fresh. He dropped them in the gutter first. You both laugh, heads tipped together like sisters, or something like it. In this world, you take your friendships in whatever shape they come. Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes truly saw themselves as a class, a sisterhood of outcasts, or whether survival made them competitive to the point of cruelty. You've seen both. Livia sighs. "My cell's full of smoke." Lapse. Flogged again. "Stay here for a bit." "Thanks." And for a moment, the two of you just sit there in the quiet, watching the dust float in the lamplight like soft ash. Later, after she leaves, you kneel beside the small wooden box where you keep your better things. A bronze mirror, slightly warped. A bit of crushed lead you use to lighten your skin on good days. A small clay figure of Venus, of course, though her nose is chipped. You brush the figure's feet gently with your fingers. You whisper a little prayer, more habit than belief. "Keep me safe. Keep the rough ones away. And if someone's going to fall in love with me today, make him rich." The room is never silent. Not truly. You hear murmurs through the thin walls. A hiccuping laugh. The creak of a bed frame. The muttered groan of a man trying to forget something. You check the bolts again. Not because you're paranoid, because you've learned. The light outside grows brighter. You see it in the line it casts across the floor. You can even hear the change in footsteps, more hurried, more purposeful. Rome is waking, and so are her citizens. Soon, you'll sweep the floor. Change the sheets. Prepare for the next one. Maybe two if the day is lucky. Some days are slow. That's when you pretend you're waiting for someone specific. Not just a client, but him, the man who sees you differently. Every girl tells herself that story, now and then. It's a private kind of kindness. Livia once said she dreamt of a baker's boy with flour in his hair and sugar on his tongue. You teased her for days. She didn't mind. You lean against the door frame, sip a little wine, and stretch your neck. Your body is already sore, and the day's barely started. But you've had worse. A breeze slips through the alley, catching your curtain. It carries the scent of roasting pine nuts and sweat. You breathe it in, then out. You straighten your tunic, fix the strap, and wait. Not for love. Not for rescue. Just for the next knock. Because it always comes. Barely have time to breathe before the next client arrives. This one doesn't knock, clears his throat, loud and expectant, like a magistrate announcing his presence in a Senate hall. You slide open the curtain with a forced smile and immediately regret it. As in uniform. Not a soldier, but worse, city official. One of those minor bureaucrats who enforce laws they barely understand, assigned to moral oversight, which is just a polite way of saying he checks the registry to make sure your name is on it. The Michelusla, he asks, eyes scanning a wax tablet. That's me, you say, even though it isn't. It's the name you use for official business. The real one belongs to a childhood that feels like it happened to someone else. He enters without asking. You don't stop him. He's not here for you in that way, not today, but he's still dangerous in the way mold is dangerous, creeping, silent, and slowly ruining the wood. You offer him a stool. He stays standing. I need to confirm your license is current, he says, like he's asking whether you've paid your olive oil tax. You retrieve the wax tag from beneath the cot. It's crude and chipped, but the official mark is still legible. He squints at it, hums, and jots something down. Any complaints? He asks. None that reached your ears, I hope. A smirk, thin and humorless. This is how it works. You don't just rent a room and wait. You register with the state. You pay a tax. You get a tag. And in return, you get to exist barely within the law. Not quite a citizen. Not quite a criminal. Somewhere in between, like the faded line between shadow and sunlight on your wall. Historians still argue whether these licenses protected women or merely exploited them. Some say they offered a kind of legitimacy, a barrier against abuse. Others point out that the law never prevented a single bruise. The official hands back your tag, lingers a moment too long near the doorway and leaves. You exhale deeply the moment he's out of sight. Livia appears 5 seconds later, eyebrows raised. What did he want? Just checking my papers. He came to mine yesterday. Said I looked older than my registration. You glance at her. What did you say? I said he looked like he crawled out of a latrine and I was being polite. You snort into your hand, but the truth lingers in the air. One wrong word, one missed fee, and you're out. Not just of your room but of protection. A woman without registration can be whipped, imprisoned, or simply made to disappear. You've known girls who vanished. Some come back, silent and thinner, with eyes that don't blink much anymore. Others never return at all. So, you follow the rules. You keep your papers clean. You smile when you must. After he's gone, you run your fingers over the door frame. Carved lightly, almost invisible, are 3 small notches. You made them yourself. One for each year you've been registered. You never thought you'd make it past one. Outside, the street grows busier. Orcas shout about dates and sardines. Children chase chickens. Somewhere, a lyre plucks a melancholy tune that doesn't quite reach the right notes. You sit on the edge of the cot and stretch your toes. Your feet ache. You have entered sandals that fit properly since last summer. but the ones you have will last a little longer if you patch the strap again tonight. You think about the law, often not the written kind, but the unwritten ones. The ones women pass to each other like folded notes. Always be the one to lock the door. Never drink more than the man does. Don't laugh too early or too late. Pretend to forget things, but not too much. It's a strange kind of intelligence. Livia calls it alley wisdom. You call it survival. Once, a new girl asked if there was a guidebook. You told her, yes. It's written on our scars. She didn't laugh. But later, she brought you a plum and said thanks. Another knock. You don't rise yet. You listen first. Heavy breathing. The jingle of cheap jewelry. Sandals dragging a bit. You recognize the pattern. The trader from Trastevere who always brings figs. You like figs. You open the door and smile. And the day continues. By mid-morning, the city exhales into itself. The street noise folds inward, less chaotic now, just the rhythm of carts, sandals, and half-spoken arguments about missing garum deliveries. You take the lull as a chance to walk. Not far, just down the alley, past the stall where the olive seller sings badly, toward the public baths. Not the grand ones where senators recline like sculpted gods, but the small, half-cracked bathhouse where workers, widows and women like you come to scrape away the sweat of the night. Inside, the air is humid and smells like a soup of cedar oil, old water, and gossip. The women's section is separated by a curtain and a suggestion of privacy. A servant girl ladles warm water into basins, the splash echoing off smooth stone. You nod to her. She doesn't nod back, but you think she might. Someday. You undress slowly. Not for modesty left you long ago, but because everything aches more in the mornings. A shoulder bruised by a client who got too rough. A thigh sore from crouching awkwardly on the cot. You lower yourself into the tepidarium basin, warm water clinging to your ribs like memory. Livia is already here, soaking beside a woman in a yellow stola with arms like braided rope. She is talking, of course. Livia never stops. And then he said I reminded him of his dead wife, so I said, she must have died of taste. You laugh, surprising yourself. The woman in the stola barks out a chuckle too. That's how it is here. You share more than water. You share bruises, clients, rumors, recipes, and dreams you'll never say aloud. Did you hear about Nisa? The stola woman asks. You shake your head. Ran off with a fishmonger. Rich, just rich enough to rent a place near the harbour and buy her shoes without holes. A pause. Then someone mutters, lucky girl. But is... Historians still argue whether women who left the trade found happiness are just a different kind of cage. Marriage, after all, is still work. Just unpaid. You close your eyes and let the warmth soak your bones. Someone starts humming, off-key but sweet. You think it's a lullaby. The sound of scraping pulls your attention. Another woman, gently dragging a strigil across her thigh. The curved blade gathers oil and sweat and a layer of something else, shame, perhaps, or the effort to stay clean in a world that stains. You take your own strigil and mimic her motion. There's something rhythmic in it. Soothing. Like peeling away yesterday, one stroke at a time. Steam curls from the water. It softens the sounds of the world, like a warm blanket draped over conversation. Do you think the gods care what we do? Livia asks suddenly, staring at the ceiling. Nobody answers right away. Then the stola woman shrugs. I think they care more about what we pay them. You grin. So they are like landlords. Laughter bubbles up, not the forced kind you use with clients, but the real sort, warm, weary, woman-shaped. The girl with a missing tooth leans in and whispers, one time, a priest offered me coin for a ritual cleansing. Told me it was sacred. Everyone groans in unison. I told him the only holy thing about him was his tunic. More laughter. You tilt your head back, the stone cool against your neck. You wonder how many women have sat here like this, soaking stories into tile. They say Cleopatra once bathed in donkey milk. You doubt that would go over well here. Someone would drink it, or cook with it, or use it to bribe the gatekeeper. A few more women drift in. You recognize some. A few you don't. One has the haunted look of someone new. She doesn't meet your eyes. Not yet. You remember being her. Eventually, the servant girl taps the wall with a ladle, gentle but firm. Time to leave. Others are waiting. You stand, bones creaking like old floorboards, and wrap your tunic around damp skin. You tie your belt, pin your wig, and dab a drop of borrowed oil behind your ears. Livia tosses you a fig. Lunch. You nod. The steam clings to you as you exit, as though reluctant to let you go. Outside, the air feels harder, like waking from a dream. You look back once. Not out of longing, but because places like that are rare, warm, safe, and filled with women who understand everything you don't say. You step back into the street. The crowd's thickening now. The baker's boy is running with a tray of rolls. A cart tips near the corner, spilling oranges. A man curses in Greek, and you, soft with steam and sore with memory, walk forward toward the day's next chapter, belly half full of laughter, skin still scented with cedar. The scent of roasted chickpeas drifts from a nearby brazier, warm and a little dusty. You and Livia settle in your usual spot, a wide stone step near the forum, shaded just enough to keep the sweat from pooling behind your knees. Lunch, such as it is, consists of one fig, half a barley cake, and a shared water skin. You chew slowly, savouring the sun-warmed fruit like it's a feast from a senator's table. This is the lull, the halfway breath of the day. It's too bright and busy for most men to sneak off, and too early for wine to lower their inhibitions, which makes it your favourite part of the routine, and not for what happens, but for what doesn't. Do you remember Gaius? Livia asks, licking crumbs from her fingers. The one with the squeaky sandals? No, the one who always brought olives. You groan. The pit spitter. He aimed at my curtain once. She laughs so hard she chokes on a crumb. He was sweet, though, said I reminded him of a Vestal virgin, which is funny, you say, because I'm pretty sure Vestals don't wear second-hand wigs. You both lean back, watching passers-by. A merchant walks past with baskets of dyed wool, a colour you've never been able to afford. The young man in a dusty tunic glances your way, then looks quickly away, cheeks pink. Not quite bold enough. Itch. A woman selling garlands pauses near your step. Fresh laurel? Keeps bad dreams away. You hold up 2 fingers, and she drops a sprig into your hand. Laurel and sweat, a Roman perfume, if ever there was one. The forum buzzes around you, orators warming up their voices, children chasing pigeons, lovers pretending not to be noticed. You spot a group of luminaria working girls like you clustered near a food stall, haggling over cold lentils and cracked olives. One of them waves. You wave back. Historians still argue whether prostitutes in ancient Rome were truly outcasts or just another part of the city's noisy rhythm. The truth, you think, lies in the middle. You're ignored until you're needed. And then, you're indispensable. A little boy runs past and bumps into Livia's knee. She ruffles his hair before he dashes off again, a cloth doll dangling from his hand. You ever think about it? She asks quietly. What? Having one. A kid. You glance sideways. She's not joking. I used to, you say. But now I think he'd rather have chickens. She smiles. Chickens don't ask questions. Chickens don't need sandals either. A soft breeze kicks up, fluttering the edge of your tunic. Somewhere nearby, someone starts playing a flute. Not well, but earnestly. The notes rise like dust motes in sunlight. I heard Julia's trying to save for her own stall, Livia says. Wants to sell love charms and herbal teas. You nod. You've seen Julia. Older, sharper around the eyes, but clever with her hands. Her potions smell like dried lavender and hope. You chew the last bit of your barley cake slowly, pressing crumbs into your tongue like it's dessert. Lunch is rarely quiet. Someone always comes by, an old client looking to talk, a thief looking to charm, a fellow worker looking for sympathy. This time it's Calvia, tall and elegant, with teeth too white to be natural. Heard you got inspected this morning, she says. Just a routine. Check, you reply, shrugging. She nods, adjusting her scarf. They're making rounds faster now. Word is, the governor's wife complained. Says she sees too many girls near the temples. Livia snorts. Maybe the governor should stay out of the temples. Calvia smiles faintly, but her eyes scan the street constantly. Always alert. Always measuring. You ask her, any good clients today? 2 senators' sons and a potter. Guess which one tipped? The potter, obviously. It's always the potters. Or the scribes. Or the bakers. The men who work with their hands often value what yours offer. The sun shifts, casting new shadows. You watch them slide slowly across the stones. Time here is measured not by hours, but by footsteps, shade lines, and when the wine starts to spill. You stand, stretching, sandals scraping against the step. Back to work. Livia asks. You nod. The lull is ending. Rome is warming to its afternoon pace. The wine is beginning to pour. The men will come soon. But for one more moment, you let the sunlight fall on your face, eyes closed. Just the warmth, the breeze, and the smell of garlands and lentils and laurel. You imagine a different life. Not far from here. Maybe in a quieter street, with fewer knocks and more chickens. A husband who doesn't flinch when you speak. A room where the lamp oil never runs out. Then you open your eyes. A client's waiting. She arrives wrapped in layers. Not the kind you and the other girls use to disguise wear and tear, but true Laoslin tunic beneath a saffron stola, face half hidden by a translucent veil that smells faintly of sandalwood. Her sandals are clean. Her gait is graceful. She walks like someone who's never had to count coins or glance over her shoulder. You know the type. A matrona. And she's standing at your curtain. You pause, stilling your hands mid-lacing your sandals. Livia watches from the cot, one eyebrow arched in unspoken question. The woman doesn't knock. She says quietly, "May I come in?" You nod, stepping aside. It would be rude to say no even though everything inside you whispers caution. She enters delicately, not touching anything. Her eyes flick around the space, taking in the oil lamp, the chipped basin, the curtain that serves as a door. She's not disgusted. She's curious. You offer her a seat on the only stool. She remains standing. "I hope I'm not disturbing your routine," she says. "Depends which part you're disturbing," you reply. Her mouth quirks just a little. "I'm not here for gossip or charity." "Then you must be lost." She removes her veil, and you get a clearer look. She is older than you expected. Lines at the corners of her mouth. Eyes like green marble polished, but heavy with thought. "I came," she says, "because I have a question. And I was told you might answer it honestly." You sit slowly. Go on. She hesitates. Her fingers fiddle with a ring, a small gold snake wrapped around her finger, head resting on a tiny garnet. "My daughter is 15. She..." And lately, she's begun receiving attention. You raise an eyebrow. "From men." She nods. "From uncles. From tutors. From boys in the street." She walks in the garden and they find reasons to pass the gate. You lean back against the wall. And you want to know what to tell her. "I want to know what they're thinking." That surprises you. You expected shame. Maybe confrontation. But not this. Your daughter, you say slowly, has something they want, even if they don't name it. And what is it? Power. Not the kind they use in the Senate. The kind that makes knees go weak. The matrona exhales, not sharply softly, like someone laying down a heavy thought. "I've told her to stay inside," she murmurs, to cover her hair, to speak softly. You smile. That works, sometimes, but only for so long. She looks at you, really looks, and you see that same fear you once saw in the mirror, before you learned how to shape it into something useful. Men, you say, often want these illusion of innocence. But what they pay for, what they come back for, is understanding. She blinks. "So I should educate her." You shrug. "That's not my place." But pretending the world is gentle won't make it so. She wraps her veil around her fingers. "When I was her age, I was betrothed to a man twice my years. Did he treat you well? He treated me legally. There it is again, truth, tucked in between politeness and linen folds. Historians still argue whether Roman matrons envied or pitied women in your line of work. Some say they saw you as vulgar, others as free. You've seen both reaction, stone-cold disdain, and a flicker of longing. The matrona reaches into her satchel and removes a small cloth pouch. She places it gently on your table. For your time, she says. You don't open it until she leaves. It's heavy enough to matter. As she turns to go, she stops at the curtain. Thank you, she says. I think he'll let her climb trees a little longer. You watch her walk away. Golden veil catching the sun like spun thread. Livia slips back in the moment the curtain falls shut. What was that? She hisses. The conversation. She didn't slap you. Didn't even sniff. No. You shake the pouch gently. And she left a tip. The rest of the afternoon drifts by in soft confusion. You serve 2 more clients, both forgettably on with breath like vinegar, one who insisted on being called General though his belt barely held up his trousers. But the visit lingers. Later, you find yourself brushing your wig more carefully. Straightening the curtain just so. You hum a tune under your breath, something half-remembered from your mother's courtyard, where figs grew fat and bees droned in lazy circles. There are things you know now. Things no tutor teaches. And if one frightened mother came all the way to ask for your wisdom, maybe that means something. Maybe, in a world that names you shameful, you still have something worth hearing. Evening begins in smells. First, the metallic tang of wet dust as buckets of water are flung across stone alleys. Then, roasted garlic from a tavern. Then perfume a keep, strong, overwhelming, wafting from the doorways of your neighbours as they prepare for the night shift. Your room grows dim, save for the flicker of the lamp. You sit cross-legged on the cot, pinning back loose curls and touching up your cheeks with a bit of crushed berry paste. The mirror wobbles, warped bronze reflecting a version of you that doesn't quite match how you feel. You check your charm. It's just a sliver of carved wood tied to a thin leather cord. A shape barely visible now, once a horse, maybe, or a stylized woman. You rub your thumb over its grooves, wondering if the gods ever listen anymore. It was given to you by an old woman who once shared your tenement floor. She called it Samilia keepsake. Said it warded off men with dirty hearts and heavy fists. It's probably nonsense. But still, you wear it. You repin your wig. Adjust the neckline of your tunic low enough to tempt, high enough to keep mystery. A balance. Always a balance. Outside, the air is cooling. Lanterns light up the alleys in soft pools. You step out and breathe in the scent of burning pine resin. Livia's already leaning against the wall, legs crossed, bouncing one sandal heel in time to some song only she hears. You look painted, she says. You look late, you reply. She grins and falls in beside you as you head toward the usual corner, the one with the ivy creeping down the plaster and the drunk who plays flute for coppers. Tonight feels ordinary. Which is good. Because in this line of work, surprises rarely mean gifts. A group of clients passes, too loud, too wine-warm. They don't stop. One of them turns his head, but the others tow him along. New sandals, Livia mutters. Bethes rich and boring. You laugh. Another man does stop. You recognize him, young, soft, with hands too clean to be a labourer. He always wears silk slippers embroidered with little dolphins. You again, he says, like it's a complaint. Lucky you say, voice honeyed. He glances around. I shouldn't be here. They never should be. But here you are. He swallows. Is the curtain still green? It's blue now. Too many wine stains. He hands over 3 coins. Not quite enough. But close. You let it slide. He always trembles a bit, like the experience is half thrill, half terror. You walk him back to the cell. He moves like he's expecting someone to shout his name from the shadows. You don't speak much. He doesn't want conversation. Just eye contact and a hand that doesn't judge. When he leaves, he presses a single olive into your hand. It's stuffed with garlic. A token, he whispers, before vanishing down the alley like a startled rabbit. You hold the olive up, squint at it, and burst out laughing. Livia hears you from the corner and calls, "He gave you food again, didn't he?" You nod, wiping your eyes. "One day, he'll have a whole pantry." She howls, with laughter. Historians still argue whether women in your trade were allowed to keep personal possessions, or whether everything filtered back to a brothel owner. Here in your little cell, no one owns you, at least, not officially. You return the olive to your cracked Jerry or little treasure box. Inside it, a button from a senator's cloak, a ribbon from a flute player, a coin with a misprint that looks like a lion sneezing. Each one a gift, a moment. A reminder that not every man who crosses your threshold leaves you emptier. You rinse your hands, light the lamp again. Sit for a moment in the hush. Then you reach for your paint. Rouge, charcoal, berry tint. You know the routine by heart. Each mark a mask, each touch a layer, not to hide who you are but to create who you need to be. Outside, laughter rises. The tavern spills out a new crowd. The city exhales again, now full-bellied and noisy. You tie the charm around your wrist, not because it works, but because it's yours. The no will come soon. You don't know if hell be kind, or rich, or forgettable. But hell come, and when he does, you'll smile. Step aside. Let him into a room that smells like roses and oil and survival. Because that's the trade. You give what they want, and keep enough of yourself hidden to make it home. You hear them before you see them. Soft-soled sandals, the rustle of fine linen, a quick hush of laughter that gets swallowed by the alley's shadows. You straighten your tunic, retie the cord at your waist, and lean slightly against the door from a not quite waiting, not quite indifferent. That's the posture. That's how you signal. "I'm here. I see you, but I'm not desperate." He steps into the light, slowly, not drunk, not anxious, not the type to fumble a coin or ask for your real name. No, this one is smooth. High cheekbones, too clean to be from the market, too quiet to be from the baths, and on his feet embroidered sandals, gold thread. Tiny stylized peacocks stitched into this leather. The kind no merchant wears, the kind only worn by sons of senators. You blink once. He meets your eyes. "Is this yours?" he asks, gesturing vaguely at your doorway. "Depends." "Are you lost?" He smiles like it's a private joke. "Not tonight." You gesture toward the curtain. "Then come in or don't." "I'm not here to narrate." He steps inside, and the air shifts slightly. Not colder. Not warmer. Just different. He doesn't touch you. Not right away. He walks around the small room like he's taking inventory, spying the oil lamp, the curtain's frayed hem, the clay pot you hide coins in, but well enough that he doesn't see it. "What's your name?" he asks. "I'm not paid to answer that." He laughs softly, then sits. "Fair. You've seen his type before, restless rich boys who want danger wrapped in silk. They slip away from tutors and brides to be desperate for a night that smells like smoke and freedom. But unlike most, he doesn't speak in half-boasts or ask what you'll let him do. He just sits. So you sit too. He doesn't stare at your chest. He stares at your eyes. That's worse. "You don't belong here," he says. You shrug. That's what everyone says. But here I am. He smiles again. "I meant that you seem sharp." You roll your eyes. "Sharp doesn't pay the rent." "Maybe it should." You don't answer that. He pulls out a small flask glass with a silver stopper. "Real perfume." "Expensive." "May I?" he asks. You nod. He dabs a single drop behind your ear. The scent is floral, with something deeper beneath resin, maybe. You breathe it in. It smells like temples and foreign ports. "You're not from here," you murmur. He shrugs. Fathers from Ostia, in supposed to be learning the law. How's that going? I'm here, aren't I? That gets a laugh from you. A real one. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, eyes curious. Do you ever lie to your clients? Only when they pay for it. And when you don't get paid, then I tell the truth. And what's the truth now? You tilt your head. That you should probably leave before someone recognizes you. He nods, slowly, then stands. He doesn't touch you, doesn't try to kiss your hand, just sets a coin on the tabla larger than usual. Gold. Enough to pay for 3 days' rent and a new pair of sandals. I wanted to see, he says, what you'd say if I didn't want anything. You watch him go, peacock sandals soundless on the stone. Historians still argue whether women in your trade experienced real connection or whether every encounter was just performance in a different costume. You're not sure. But this one, he didn't perform. You pick up the coin and turn it in your hand. It's heavy, warm, real. Livia pokes her head in a moment later. You look stunned. Just a weird one. Did he pay? You hold up the coin. She whistles. For that, it let him braid my wig. You laugh, tuck the coin away, and sit back down. Night thickens outside. The moonlight glints off puddles and wine-stained cobbles. The sounds change again, fewer carts, more music. Laughter shifts from light to slurred. The breeze carries hints of thyme and spilled vinegar. You light another lamp, adjust your tunic again. You've got hours left to go, but for a moment, you sit. You remember how he looked at you, not like a broken thing, not like a temptation, just a person. And for that, you might even forgive the peacocks. The curtain falls shut. You're alone again. You exhale, long and slow. That type of client no touching, no fumbling shouldn't leave you shaken. And yet. You rinse your face with a handful of water from the basin. Cool against your skin, a thin thread of sanity in a room that smells like wax, oil, and someone else's regret. And then come the sounds. Soft at first. Slurred voices. A hiccup. The scrape of sandal on stone. Then a thud. Close to your wall. Someone has stumbled. You don't move. Not yet. Another sound, a laugh. Low and bitter. 2 men this time, maybe 3. One of them curses. Another grumbles. Someone mumbles something that ends with not worth the coin. You listen. Not to be rude, but to protect yourself. Every woman here learns the art of selective hearing. You learn to tell drunk from dangerous, boastful from belligerent, young from mean. The way their heels hit the stones. The way they breathe before a sentence. The kind of silence that means they've stopped walking because they're watching something or someone. A heavy body hits a wall nearby. Glass shatters. Laughter. Then a sudden silence that feels like a dropped curtain. You slip to the back corner of the room and grip your charm. This one's old and smoothed by time. Wood darkened from the oil on your skin. It probably holds no power, but it feels like something. A man's voice drifts through the curtain. Loud now. Agree. You can't hear the words, but you hear her voice too. It's not Livia. It's Meropith, the youngest girl in the tenement. Barely 16, if that. Too soft. Too polite. Still believing that if she's kind enough, they won't hurt her. You press your ear to the wall. She's saying no. Quietly. Too quietly. Then comes a crash. You're moving before you think. Out the door. Across the landing. Down the steps. Livia appears behind you, already tying her tunic tight. You reach the doorway and see the man broad, red-faced, with a soldier's bearing and a broken wine flask at his feet. Merop stands backed into a corner, hands out like she's praying. He sways toward her. You don't yell. You throw. Your sandal, of all things. It hits the wall beside his head with a satisfying slap. He turns, confused. You missed, Livia says behind you. Didn't aim for him, you mutter. The man squints. Who are you? The woman whole scream loud enough to bring the whole street if you don't leave. He hesitates. His kind always do. They expect silence. The obedience. But not this. You take a step forward. She said no. Another voice from behind. Alvia. Arms crossed. We all heard it. Now there are 3 of you. 4, as another door opens. 5, with the old woman from upstairs. He stares. Then, with the bitter dignity of someone too drunk to fight, he spits, curses and stumbles out. Silence falls again. Merrup's hands drop. Her lip is bleeding. Just a little. You move to her slowly. Offer your hand. She takes it. Her fingers shake. You lead her back to your room. Sit her on the cot. Hand her a damp cloth. She dabs at her mouth, eyes wide. I didn't know what to do. You don't have to know, you say gently. You just have to stay alive. She nods. I thought if I was nice you smile, bittersweet. We've all thought that. Livia brings wine, not the good kind, but warm and sweet. Merrup sips it like medicine. You sit with her until her hands stop trembling. Historians still argue whether brothels in ancient Rome functioned as places of community or merely commerce. But here, in your cracked-walled tenement, there is something soft and sacred about the way women care for each other. Not with declarations. Just cloth, warmth, and quiet. Eventually, Merrup curls up on the cot and drifts to sleep. Livia watches her for a moment. Well, take turns. You nod. You'll stay first. Outside, the laughter picks up again. Rome keeps spinning, indifferent to what's just happened. But in here, the lamp burns low, and one girl sleeps because another girl stood in the doorway and said no more. That's not nothing. That's everything. The quiet hum of the oil lamp keeps you company. Merrup breathes softly on the cot, curled into a smaller shape than you thought she could make. Her knuckles are tucked under her chin. There's still a faint line of blood at the edge of her mouth, but her eyes, at last, are closed. You sit beside her, awake, not from fear, just from habit. The room feels heavier tonight. Not dangerous, just full. Full of things unsaid. Full of that old ache, the one that settles behind your eyes and never really leaves, even after a good client or a soft laugh. You reach under the cot, feel around for the cracked pot where your coins clink softly against clay. You open the lid slowly and drop in the senator's son's gold coin. Then you count. 1 by 1. Not for greed. Not even hope. Just rhythm. You pause at 22. Enough for next month's rent, if the price doesn't rise again. Enough for bread, oil, and maybe just maybe a bit of saffron from the market. You've never bought saffron, but it smells like festivals, like weddings, like the kind of life women whisper about when they think no one is listening. And beside the coins, the cursed tablet. Thin lead, folded carefully like a letter. You found it in the rubbish heap behind the tavern, words scratched hastily by someone who couldn't afford to pay a priest. Latin. But messy, emotional. You unfolded it once. Just once. I curse the man who stole from me. May his tongue rot. May his hands burn. May he wake with lice in his beard and sadness in his eyes. It made you laugh. It still does. Because in a way, it's not so different from prayer. Just angrier. You never dared write one yourself. But sometimes, at night, you whisper your own versions into the lamplight. May my knees stop aching. May no one knock who's not gentle. May I make it to winter without selling my mirror. Historians still argue whether cursed tablets were real magic or just the ancient version of shouting into a pillow. You think both can be true. You hear a soft creak outside. Livia's turn. She taps the door once, then peeks in. She's sleeping? You nod. I brought garlic bread, she says, holding up a torn crust. You break it in 2 and eat in silence. Merrup stirs. You both freeze. But she only turns, sighs, and settles again. She is lucky you were nearby. Livia murmurs. She shouldn't have needed me. No one should. But here we are. She picks up the little wooden charm from the table, turns it in her fingers. What do you think this used to be? A horse? Or a woman? Or a goddess? She holds it up to the lamp. Maybe it's all three. You both chuckle softly. Then she asks, "Do you remember your first night?" You do. Of course you do. You remember the smell of the room-fresh lime plaster mixed with something sour. The man was older. Nervous. His hands trembled. You thought it would be worse. But it wasn't what he did that stuck with you. It was what he said afterward. You're not like the others. You didn't know then how many times you'd hear that. As if shame only belonged to someone else. You look down at Merup. She doesn't look like the others, either. Not yet. But she will. If she lasts. Outside, the moon is full. Light filters through the torn edge of the curtain, casting pale stripes across the floor. Dust floats in it like tiny spirits dancing. You press your palm against the wall. Raw. Steady. Real. There's comfort in stone. It doesn't pretend. Eventually, Livia rises. Wake me if she cries, she whispers. I will. She slips out, and you're alone again. But you don't feel alone. Not with the lamp. The charm. The soft sound of someone breathing beside you. You take the folded curse tablet, hold it against your chest for a moment, then tuck it back into the pot. You whisper a wish not a curse this time. May tomorrow be just boring enough to survive. Morning always comes too fast. You feel it in your joints before your eyes open, the stiff ache in your knees, the dull throb across your shoulders, the tender bruise beneath your ribs where last night's elbow landed without apology. But the rooster crows anyway. The baker's boy starts singing 2 doors down. And through the thin walls, someone's already spilling their first bucket of water onto the alley. Merup's still sleeping. You brush her tangled hair off her cheek, careful not to wake her. She needs 1 more hour of pretending the world isn't what it is. You slide on your sandal, still only 1 after yesterday's heroic throw-on, slip outside for some air. The alley smells like ashes and oranges. A good sign. Your feet carry you past the wine shop, past a cracked fountain where a woman is scrubbing laundry against stone, past the chalk-scrawled wall where someone's drawn a crude caricature of a senator with a pig snout. You smile. Then, as you near the market, you see her. She's seated behind a narrow table covered with herbs, cloth pouches, and clay charms. Fusia. Former lupenaria. Current merchant of whispers and weeds. Back already? She asks, not unkindly. I never left. She gestures toward her goods. Chamomile for nerves. Rue for dreaming. Parsley for she lowers her voice. Unwanted visitors. You raise an eyebrow. That last one's in demand. She laughs, handing you a cloth pouch. Inside, dried mint, crushed lavender, a hint of something sharp, maybe rosemary. For your pillow, she says. Might keep the bad ones out. You slip her 2 coins. She accepts them like offerings. She's older now, but not slower. Her hands are still clever. Her eyes still sharp. She knows things most men never will: how to dress a wound with oil, how to mask fear with flirtation, how to fold pain into a potion. You glance at the crowd. So many men. And they never notice her unless she wants them to. That's real power. Back at your corner, Livia is bargaining with a man over some imaginary price. She catches your eye and winks. He wants love for a single coin, she whispers. So I offered him half a smile. You grin and settle in beside her. The day is warm. The breeze kind, but slow. No knocks. No whistles. Just people moving, shopping, living. So you slip into your second trade, performance. You spread your shawl just so, like a stage curtain. Cross your legs. Fix your gaze somewhere in the middle distance, as though you're waiting for someone noble. Livia flips a coin idly between her fingers. We should open a school, she muses. For what? For this. The art of the glance. First lesson, never glance too soon. Second lesson, always sit with this light behind you. You chuckle. Third, if he offers compliments before coins, he's a poet or a problem. You both fall into giggles. Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes knew how calculated their trade was, whether they acted on instinct or learned scripts. You know the truth, it's both. Every flick of your wrist, every sigh, every tilt of your head, it's a signal shaped by practice and reinforced by coins. Even the silence means something, especially the silence. You spot a man across the alley, a regular. You call him Rooster because his voice cracks in the middle of sentences. He doesn't approach. Not yet. Just watches. Maybe hell build courage. Maybe hell walk away. Either is fine. You open Julia's pouch and inhale. The scent is grounding earth, herb, and a faint memory of being tucked into a warm lap long ago. You think of your mother. Not often, but today. She never spoke much about her life before marriage. Just once, she told you, keep something for yourself. Always. Even if it's just your laugh. You've held on to that laugh. And that glance. And the way your fingers trace the rim of your wine cup when you're thinking. Little things. Yours. Across the alley, Rooster steps forward. Then halts. Then turns back. Livia lets out a sigh, but views his coin. You nudge her. Maybe tomorrow, or never. Maybe we'll just sit here and grow old and keep swapping jokes. That doesn't sound so bad. No, it doesn't. The sun climbs higher. The shadows shrink. You lean back against the wall and stretch your legs. Your sandal creaks. Today is quiet, but not empty. There's lavender in your pocket, a coin in your jar, and a sleeping girl upstairs who still believes in better days. And for now, that's enough. The quiet days never last. By late afternoon, the air thickens not just with heat, but with tension. You feel it before you see it, like the low hum before thunder. A ripple in the city's rhythm. The market grows louder, more chaotic. Coins clink faster. Voices rise. You and Livia sit straighter. The lull is ending. Bet they've had their wine. She mutters. Bet they've had someone else's, too. She stands to stretch, adjusts the strap on her sandal. A subtle movement, but deliberate in invitation. You do the same, brushing lint from your tunic's hem, adjusting the fall of your shawl. The dance begins again. And then, a flicker someone new. He lingers by the olive stall, pretending to consider the price of sour pickles, but his eyes keep drifting to your side of the alley. Is young. Too neat. His hands are stained with ink. A scribe, you guess, or a copyist, low pay, quiet life. But maybe today he has a coin to spare, or a story to unload. You give him the glance. Not the full one, just a soft lift of the eyes, like a breeze, catching your hair. Enough to say, yes, I see you. He flinches, then straightens, walks toward you with a pace that says he rehearsed this. Evening, he says, almost too quiet to hear. Smile, warm and measured. Evening. Are you? Yes. He flushes. Oh, right. You tilt your head. Would you like to come in? He hesitates, then nods. Inside, he stumbles a little, like the air's heavier. He doesn't sit. Just stands, blinking at the room. It's smaller than I imagined, he says. It looks bigger if you close your eyes, you reply. He laughs nervously, and the sound breaks something in your reminder that not every man who walks in does so to conquer. Some come just to be. He speaks quickly, like hell forget his thoughts if he pauses. Tells you about a scroll he's copying poetry, something about the moon and a longing that won't leave. You listen. You nod. You offer him watered wine. He doesn't touch you. Doesn't ask to. After a long while, He sets a coin on the table. For your time. You tilt your head. That's a lot of coin for just talking. He shrugs. It was worth it. He leaves before you can reply. You sit in the hush he leaves behind. The coin, still warm from his palm. You tuck it into your jar. Then, lean back and exhale. Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes had secret languages or signals. They did. Of course they did. You could hold an entire conversation with the tilt of a shoulder, the lift of a brow, the way your sandals pointed. You could say, not tonight, maybe later, too drunk, come back with coin, and please, not him, all without opening your mouth. Some signals were for clients. Some were for each other. Like now. Across the alley, Livia lifts one hand twice, quick. You rise and move toward her, smooth and unhurried. What is it? You murmur. She doesn't answer. Just tips her chin toward the alley's far end. There, under the shadow of a broken awning, a girl is pretending to sell herbs. Not one of yours. Maybe 16. She flicks her wrist too wide. Smiles too early. Looks hungry in a way that isn't about food. Poor thing's going to starve, Livia mutters. You both watch as a man approaches, her older, smug. She offers a pouch. He waves it away. Says something. She laughs too loud. He touches her arm. She doesn't flinch, but her smile slips. You sigh. Ill go. You cross the alley, your sandals clicking softly. The girl notices you. The smile fades. Trade's slow today, you say gently. She nods, confused. The man sneers. I don't need to. I know, you say. That's why you're leaving. He blinks. What? You step between them. She's new. She's trying. Be kind or be gone. He scowls. I've got coin. And I've got a voice that carries. You stare him down. Behind you, the girl's breath catches. Eventually, he spits on the ground and walks off. You turn. She's still staring. Don't smile unless you mean it, you tell her. Don't offer unless you're ready. And never give him the first word. She nods slowly. Thank you. You smile. Next time, you'll handle it yourself. You leave her there, stronger by a hair. That's how it begins. Back at your post, Livia hands you a thing. What would we do without you? Get bruised more often. You both laugh. The sun sinks lower. The shadows stretch. And the city forgets your name once more. But you remember. You remember her name. You'll ask again tomorrow. Because that's how you keep going. One glance. One coin. One girl at a time. The roof is your favorite part. Long after the footsteps fade and the laughter turns inward, you climb the narrow wooden stairs that groan beneath every step. Up through the smoke and clay dust, up past the crying baby 2 floors down and the oil lamp that always flickers blue, up until the city quiets. The rooftop isn't large. Just enough space for 3 women and a broken water jar-turned planter. But it holds the sky. You sit on the flat tile edge and pull your knees up to your chest. Rome glows below you in soft patches, lamplight flickering in alleys, a torch or two from passing patrols, the golden shimmer of the forum far beyond. Tonight, Livia joins you. No questions asked. Just sits beside you and exhales. Merup's curled on your cot again. You didn't ask why. You didn't need to. Some nights you just can't sleep alone. Do you ever imagine leaving? Livia asks, her voice soft with stars. All the time, you say. She pulls a fig from her pocket. It'd open a bakery. No raisins in anything. That's a rule. It'd sell apples, you say. Just apples, red ones, shiny. Would you flirt with your customers? You smile. Only if they tip. You both laugh. Below, a man shouts something crude into the dark, but it fades before it reaches you. The air is cooler up here. It smells less like sweat and vinegar, more like bread crust and chimney smoke. You spot a shooting star, and Livia gasps. Wish time, she whispers. You close your eyes. You wish for softer sandals. A pillow that isn't stuffed with straw. A lock that clicks cleanly. A morning that doesn't start in fear. When you open your eyes again, Rome is still there. Still sprawling and golden and dirty and alive. Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes had dreams beyond survival. They like to write that you were too beaten down for fantasy. That women like you lived in the moment coin to coin, knock to knock. They're wrong. Your dreams are sharp and glittering. You've dreamed of the sea. You've never seen it, but you imagine it smells like clean linen and sounds like your mother humming. You've dreamed of horses not the kind that drag carts, but the painted ones you saw once in a parade, plumed and perfect. You've dreamed of a room with a bed so soft you disappear inside it, where no one knocks unless they bring wine and kind words. Once, Livia says, I dreamed I owned a comb made of bone. It had dolphins carved into it. You turn to her. Did you ever have one like that? No. Then how did you dream it? I saw it in a shop once. Behind glass, you lean your head against hers. Summer day. Summer day, she echoes. Far below. Someone drops a jug. It shatters with the finality of midnight. A dog barks, and then silence again. You shift your feet, stretching your toes. You've worn these sandals so long you know every blister by name. You think about the pot of coins under your cot. If you skipped rent for a month, you could buy new ones. Maybe red. Maybe with a little bead on the strap. But rent always comes. So you hold the dream in your chest instead. A beadless hope. A quiet plan. Do you think Merop will last? Livia asks. You don't answer right away. She's soft, you say at last. But she's listening now. That helps. She needs new sandals. You smile. We all do. A wind picks up, carrying the scent of distant figs and fire smoke. You breathe it in. This moment, this rooftop, this breeze, this shared silence is yours. No one bought it. No one demanded it. It's a gift, rare and unwrapped. The city breathes below, unaware. And for once, you let yourself believe that maybe, just maybe, your dreams aren't foolish after all. The knock comes when the moon is high. Not hurried. Not shy. Just 3 soft taps, evenly spaced. You glance at Livia, who's already rising from the cot, stretching her arms. I've got it, she offers, but you shake your head. Something about the rhythm draws you. You open the curtain. He stands there like a shadow come to life wrapped in a traveller's cloak, dust on his boots, eyes clear and unreadable. Harder. Worn in the way that means he's survived things, but not all of them well. You working? He asks gently. Depends, you reply, stepping back. Are you dangerous? Not anymore. He enters slowly, as though unsure whether he's walking into comfort or memory. Inside, the lamp flickers low. Merop stirs but doesn't wake. You move past her and gesture to the stool. He sits, carefully. For a moment, nothing happens. Then he speaks. I used to know someone like you. You don't ask who. You just pour wine, thin and slightly bitter, and pass him the cup. He takes it with 2 hands, drinks slowly. She had a laugh, like cracked bells. He continues, even when it wasn't funny. Especially then. You smile, just a little. And what happened to her? He shrugs. She grew older, or I did. Doesn't matter now. You watch him for a long moment. Why are you here? He meets your eyes. I was tired of pretending. That sits between you like an ember. So you talk. Not like the others do, not in flattery or half-lies. You speak plainly. He listens. And then he speaks, too. He tells you about his wife. Gone now. Fever, he says. He doesn't say how long ago. He tells you about his son, grown and elsewhere. He tells you about walking. Always walking. And you? You nod. You offer warmth without ownership, presence without performance. You don't touch, but you lean forward just enough to say, "I'm here." He looks around your room, notices the charm on the wall, the folded blanket, the dried laurel on the sill. "Not what I expected," he murmurs. "None of us are." He laughs, a tired, real sound. Then, "Do you ever wish you'd done something else?" You pause. "I do something else every day. I just also do this." Historians still argue whether Roman prostitutes had emotional boundaries, whether they separated work from heart, or whether it all blurred together. You know better. You can be tender and still closed. You can be tired and still kind. You can give something real and still walk away whole. He sets down the cup, stands. No reaching. No asking. Just a nod. He leaves a coin, but not for what didn't happen. For what did. After he goes, you hold the coin in your palm. It's not heavy, not gold, but warm. Livia appears behind you. He stayed a while. He didn't need much. She yawns, ties back her hair. "Those are the hardest ones." You nod. "But the ones if I remember." Merup stirs, blinks up at you. "Someone came." She asks, "Just a traveller," you say, "looking for somewhere quiet." She nods, fades back into sleep. You sit by the lamp, the coin in your hand, the flame flickering like breath. Outside, the city softens. The last shouts fade. The final cups are drained. Rome hums in its bones. You breathe. And you stay awake a little longer. Because sometimes, what they need isn't your body. Sometimes, it's just the room you make for them to be tired, too. You wake before the sky brightens. They get. The rooftops are still dark, the stones below still damp with dew. You move slowly, not out of laziness but because every part of you remembers yesterday. And the day before. Your feet find the floor without thought. Your fingers know where the curtain hangs, where the lamp sits, where the robe folds. These motions have become muscle deep like breath, like heartbeat, like hunger. You wash your face with cold water from the basin. It stings, but it clears the sleep. In the cracked bronze mirror, you glimpse the version of yourself that others will see, alert, composed, painted if necessary. Merup is still curled on the cot. The hair sticks up like straw. You leave her be. She's earned the rest. Down the stairs, the alley greets you like a familiar ache. The baker's oven is already hot. The same smell wafts from itchard flour, rising duff, old coals. You nod to the baker's son. Has grown taller. His hands are strong now, always dusted with ash. He hands you half a loaf, still warm. "Extra crust today," he says. You smile. "You're a prince." He grins and shrugs. "I like your laugh." That catches you off guard. You walk back through the alley, nibbling the bread, steam rising into the morning mist. Livia is already sweeping her doorstep. She nods, eyes bleary but awake. "Any clients last night?" "One. Just wanted silence." "Those are the best." You pause. "He asked if I wished he'd done something else." She leans on her broom. "What did you say?" "That I already do something else. I survive." She considers that. Then nods. "Good answer." You finish the bread on the step outside your room. Watch as the city shifts from grey to gold. Vendors roll carts past. A woman sharpens a knife. Someone chases a goat. A patrol of guards laughs too loudly. The same as yesterday. The same as tomorrow. You rise, stretch your arms, feel your joints crack like old timber. There's comfort in this repetition. Not because it's easy, but because it's known. You light your lamp. Rearrange the blanket. Check your coin pot. Dab your wrist with rose oil. The knock hasn't come yet. But it will. It always does. And when it does, you'll answer it. Not because you're weak. Not because you're lost. But because you've built something here out of nothing. A room that smells like mint. A cot that holds more kindness than most beds. The charm worn smooth by hope. You have made this life bearable. Sometimes even beautiful. And that is no small feat. Historians still argue whether women like you had power. They miss the point. Power isn't always in the Senate or the sword. Sometimes it's in the way you keep going. The way you wake up. The way you light the lamp again. Now, the city quiets. The lamps burn low. The laughter fades to murmurs. Far across the rooftops, a single rooster calls too early and too soft to startle. You sit once more beside your cot, hands resting in your lap, feeling the stillness settle like a blanket. The floor is cool beneath your feet. The curtain stirs only slightly, brushing the wall with each soft breath of night wind. Merup sleeps again, curled up like a child. Livia hums to herself 2 rooms away, a lullaby with no words, just the rhythm of someone who knows how to soothe herself when the world grows too sharp. You stretch your legs. The ache is there, of course. It always is. But it's dulled now. Muted by bread, by wine, by small kindnesses folded into a day that could have gone worse. And outside, the stars hang where they always do. Silent. Steady. Watching. The lamp's flame dances one last time before you pinch it out. In the dark, your eyes adjust slowly, familiar shapes returning. The shadow of the door, the curve of the wall, the quiet shape of your life. You pull the blanket over your knees. Breathe in. Breathe out. You made it through. Again. And that, more than anything, is your triumph. So rest now. Let the city blur into silence. Let the breeze cool your thoughts. Let the rhythm of your heart remind you that you are still here. And in the hush of this ancient room, may your dreams come soft, like laurel leaves drifting into your hands. You did enough today. You are enough. Sleep gently, friend.